Hey guys, for those who haven't met me before, my name's Ash. I am a wood carver from AC Woodwork. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and my website, acwoodwork.com.au. I'll drop the link below. But I'm a spoon carver. I've been carving for 4 or 5 years now. I run lessons, I teach people how to carve spoons. I've just cut out this spoon as you would have seen earlier. And for me, one of the biggest lessons I think that I learned as an early carver that I try and teach newer people who are looking to carve is around wood selection and when to bother and when not to bother. You see online it's such a hotly contested debate around people not wasting wood and use every scrap that you have. But for me as a carver who doesn't have a lot of time, I'm a father, I'm a social worker, I work full time, I have other parts of my business making art. I don't have time to sit around and waste and pursue a piece of wood. And when I first started out, I felt like maybe that was what you had to do. That maybe carving was letting the wood talk to you. And you hear that a lot from carvers who, for two things, maybe are newer to carving, or secondly, don't have access to a lot of good wood to carve. But for me, it was pursuing and pushing through. The wood had knots, or if it was a crook spoon from a bent branch, or it had bore holes or little cracks in it, super glue it, and all those kind of things that you hear to use every last piece of wood. And I pursued, and there were times when I hated carving some spoons, when it was just so frustrating. No matter how sharp my tools were, no matter which direction I was cutting, there was tear out, there was splitting, there was twisting, there was cracking. And it was because of the really poor wood choice that I was using at the time. These days, I am pretty ruthless with my wood. If I look at it and there's a knot in it, I'm not gonna bother. It's not worth my time. If you're looking for good wood, contact your local arborists, have a chat to them, let them know what you're looking for. They'll generally hook you up for a 6-pack. I've got a really great local arborist here who supports me. All the silky oak that I've been carving recently came in about 500mm rounds and maybe 700 long. So really big pieces of tree trunk. So it's relatively easy to get good wood if you know who you're asking, so chat to your local arborist. But before I had that relationship, I really just was finding whatever I could carve and carve it. If it was a branch off a tree in the yard, if it was something on the side of the road, a small branch, if it had a knot in it or a branch, I didn't really care, I carved it anyway. These days, not so much. So as you saw a bit earlier, I cut out this spoon today, which is almost perfectly straight. If you can see, and I'll show a bit of a close-up later with the finished product here, but the grain is almost completely straight, all the way up, and the same all the way down the back. This is kind of like the holy grail of what you want to carve. This is silky oak. Silky oak is kind of like butter when you leave it sit in the log for 3 or 4 months. It's so nice to use. But in saying that, there's a giant pile here, and I'll show you why. This is a fifth of the pile of wood that I've thrown away because it's not worth my time carving. So a couple of examples. This one here has a knot in it here, a knot in it here that comes through the back, and there's a twist in it here. That is just not knowing. I'll get my spoon out here. By the time I come down here, you can see there's a curve in it here. That'll result in my neck having tear out. And in this particular type of wood, you have to carve it green. You can't carve it dry. It doesn't work when you carve it finish carve it dry. So you don't have the opportunity to come back later once it's dried and tightened up and use a sharp knife to clean it up. So this is an example of something that I would not carve. Here's another giant knot through the side here, which comes out the back there. Could I cut it there and make a small eating spoon? Yeah, I probably could. This wood's not the greatest for eating spoons. I don't particularly like eating with silky oak spoons, everyone's preference, but there's no point. Why am I going to bother? You can see the grain twists here. As soon as I get to here anywhere, this is just going to be a pain. And for the time that I can throw that out and then cut out a perfectly straight billet out of the nearly 50 other billets of wood that I've got, it's easy just to carve it here. Sorry, that's a blank, not a billet. Here's another giant knot in it. Perfect wood up until there-ish. There's a bit of a twist in it here. This side here looks really nice, but it kicks really hard around that knot. Again, it's just not worth the time. So one of my biggest pieces of advice to anyone who's new at carving, dish the wood. Find the good stuff. Don't bother with the stuff that's going to eat your time up, that you're not going to enjoy. Find something better. Here's an example. Nice and straight. Nice and straight. That would come out of there perfectly. So spend the time finding the good wood. Ask around, check in, and resist the urge to let the wood tell you what to do. Because the wood's not going to tell you what to do. The wood's actually just going to kick your ass and make you not enjoy spoon carving. Hot tip from me. Have a good one, enjoy carving.